Okay, so here's what we ended up with. So we kind of picked some points. We tried to look around and find areas where we could line up on the new panel and the old panel to get an idea of, so we could get it right. And you can see, like over here, we created that mark relative to something over there, and then we brought it down, and then we came this across, and it was kind of a pain because this metal's wrinkled. And anyway, but this is what we got. And I think this is going to work, and if it doesn't, well, we'll go from there. But the cool thing with metal is if you get it close, you can usually get it eventually. It might just take longer. There's, what do they say? Something's like if everything's perfect and everything else you grind. So basically, if we come up short, or if we do leave too much metal, we'll grind it. If there's a gap, we'll just fill it, and it'll take longer, but what you gonna do? But it's hard to get this perfect because this metal's wrinkled, and that one over there ain't quite perfect either. But this is what we got. So you can see there's the car. And let me show you this. Here's the new panel. You can see it's a little bit cleaner looking on this one since this one's not bent. That looks a lot better. But like right here, there's a slight angle change to make that work. But the good thing is this is all like under the bumper, so that doesn't really have to be perfect. So for example, if we can get this to line up perfect and there's a tiny gap or something down here, it won't really matter. You won't see it when the bumper's on. But anyway, this is what we got, and we're going to start by cutting on this panel, because if I totally mess up, I can just buy another one of these. So we're going to start by cutting out, you can see the X's, that's the scrap, and the part in the middle is what we're going to keep. So we're going to be very careful and try to cut right on our line all the way around, and we're actually going to use a Dremel, or a Dremel type tool, little rotary tool. They're slow. I don't really like things being slow, but man, you get really good precision with these. I don't really know what I'm doing. If I grab a big angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, I'm probably going to make a mess and damage this panel or my car. And we did this fender, we did this one with the Dremel, and it's curved, and cutting curves is a lot harder than cutting straight. And you can tell this turned out pretty good. With the human eye, I can see like right here, there's a tiny little, yeah, you can kind of tell on the camera that's not absolutely perfect, but it really wasn't drawn perfect, to be fair. And this turned out good. We're happy with that. That's plenty good enough for that stage. I mean, this is going to get covered by a fender flare anyway. So that's fine. Now we're just going to take this rotary tool, cut this sucker out, see how that turns out, and then do the same thing to the car. I will mention one thing. I found one defect on this panel that I'm not happy about, but I think I'll be able to work with, and it's right here. Right there, this metal, there's a section here that's flat, and I tried scraping, and I don't know, it looks like it's metal. I mean, maybe there's like a super thin layer of Bondo or something. That could just be primer, I don't know. It's like they basically painted over the green and did like primer and paint, or maybe they did a real thin skim of Bondo. You can see here some scratches that went a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is, there's a flat spot here. I'll try to show you. So if you take like a ruler, you can pretty much see it's literally flat right there. Now up here, it rolls. It's a curve. But all of a sudden, the rolling stops right there and just turns flat. And what happened is, on this panel, let's see, way up here at the top, so the flat section's over here. We're going to go up here where it's curved. That's where they did all their sheet metal work to straighten this panel. And whenever they did, they basically pulled that section that had a light curve. They basically pulled it straight by over pulling on that. Now, this is very common to have distorted panels when a body shop does body work. Because these guys, stuff like this, probably 99.9% of the time, they're doing the work, they're getting paid by an insurance company, and nobody really knows the difference. So they just got to make it look like they fixed it. Doesn't have to hold up forever. They don't have to do a perfect job. You can see all the paint runs in this. Paint's flaking off because, they didn't really do that great of a job. So, and right here, this panel is distorted. Now, since it's on the whole car, most people would probably never notice, but I actually caught this with my eye. So when I was doing this, Miatas are just curvy cars. They don't really have flat spots. Like on mine, the same area, watch. This rolls. It never falls flat. There's a slight curve. It ain't much of a curve, but there is a slight curve in this area. And the new panel doesn't have that. But here's what we're thinking. I think when we cut this out, my car will still have the curve. And basically, I'm going to take that panel. Once it's cut, I'm hoping it'll be a little more flexible. I want to try to actually put that curve back in that panel. That's what I'm going to try to do. We'll see if that works. If it doesn't work, the second thought, which I think I can do that. Even if it doesn't want to go, I think eventually with enough persuasion I could put a slight curve in it. But even if I can't, what I can do is try to bend it a little and then match it up to this one and tack weld it. And do that in a few spots, and then like say this is the old metal and this is the new part and it's got a few tack welds here. Once I've done that, I can put this on there and see if I was able to basically put that curve back in or at least get it really close to where you won't notice. I mean, most people would never notice this anyway. You're talking, this is just the slightest amount of curve here, but it is curved. So we're going to try to get that fixed too. And this is a tiny bit of a compromise. It would be better to just get a new panel. But this is the delays that would cause. It is really, in my experience, it's difficult to find somebody that has a Miata that has a really clean panel and get them to just go chop this off, because it ruins the car. You know, you basically got to have a Miata that was like wrecked in the front or something, and this is okay, and a human that's willing to get out a grinder and go cut all this stuff. It's a sucky job to cut that panel off. So it's just hard to get anybody to even do that. So since we got this one and it's really close, we're going to cut it. We're at least going to cut it for practice, and we're going to try to fit it and see if it, you know, looks acceptable. And if it's not, it's not. But I think we're going to be able to make this work. And I know I'll have to get the car painted now, and it'll probably have primer in this spot for a while until I get around to that. But I will be so glad to finally fix this dent. This thing is, like I said, it's been since like 2008. I've been very tired of, when I look at the car, like everybody sees a Miata, I see this. My eyes just latch onto this stupid dent. And then you can see like way up in here, there's some tiny little rust spots. I mean, there ain't much rust on this car, but there's some right there, you know? So that'll come off and we can fix it. And this tiny little spot's gonna stay because it's above or it's below that mark. But we'll do something, clean that and primer it too. And hell, for that, of course, anything we find we're gonna fix. But anyway, that's where we're at. We're about to start cutting. Wish me luck.